Honey, what will you give me for our 25th anniversary? A trip to Thailand? Wow, that's awesome. And for our 50th anniversary? Then I pick you up again. It's been 2,185 days since I've been with a girl. I had to go jogging in flip-flops yesterday just to remind myself of the sound it makes. Darling, would you save me if I jumped into the water? Honey, if I say yes, will you jump? My wife and I had a terrible fight last night, but in the end she came crawling to me on her hands and knees. Wow, that's really impressive. What did she say? Come out from under that couch, you filthy coward. I've had it with your silly remarks about my weight. I'm leaving you. But honey, what about our child? Child? What child? Wife, you know what? I refuse to talk about this anymore. Wife, 10 seconds later. And you know what else? Her. All my friends are telling me I married an idiot. Him. What they mean is only an idiot would have married you. Husband takes his wife to a disco, and there's a guy there on the dance floor like a king, moonwalking, breakdancing, head spinning, the works. The wife turns to her husband and she sighs. You see that man? 25 years ago he asked me to marry him and I said no. Husband says, yep, looks like he's still celebrating. Wife, if I'd known you were this poor, I'd never have married you. Husband, don't pretend I didn't warn you. How many times did I tell you that you're everything I got? A man was complaining to a friend. I had it all. Money, magnificent house, big car, the love of beautiful women. Then pow, it was all gone. What happened? Asked a friend. My wife found out. A little boy opened the big and old family Bible with fascination, looking at all the old pages as he turned them. Then something fell out, and he picked it up and he looked at it closely. It was an old leaf from a tree that had been pressed in between the pages. Mama, look what I found, the boy called out. What do you got there, dear? His mother asked. With astonishment in his voice, he answered, It's Adam's suit. A lady went into a bar in Waco, and she saw a cowboy with his feet propped up on the table. He had the biggest boots she'd ever seen. The woman asked the cowboy if it's true what they say about men with big feet that are well endowed. The cowboy grinned and said, Sure is, little lady. Why don't you come on out to the bunkhouse and let me prove it to you? The woman, wanting to find out for herself, so she spent the night with him. The next morning she hands him a $100 bill, and blushing, he said, Well, thank ye, ma'am. I'm real flattered. Ain't nobody ever paid me for my services before. Don't be flattered. Take the money and buy yourself some boots that fit. 3 Aussie guys, Shane, Ricky, and Jeff, were working on a high-rise building project in Wagga Wagga. Unfortunately, Shane fell off the scaffolding and is killed instantly. As the ambulance takes the body away, Ricky says someone should go and tell his wife. Jeff says, Okay, I'm pretty good at that sensitive stuff. I'll do it. 2 hours later, he comes back carrying a case of Foster's 2-4-pack. Ricky says, Where did you get that, Jeff? Shane's wife gave it to me. Ricky says, That's unbelievable. You told the lady her husband was dead and she gave you some beer? Well, not exactly, Jeff said. When she answered the door, I said to her, You must be Shane's widow. She said, No, I'm not a widow. And I said, I'll bet you a case of Foster's you are. A man goes to a medium. The medium tries to contact his deceased wife. I'm in contact with your wife. What is she saying? Not much. Okay, that can't be my wife. Is it true that the only difference between a yard sale and a trash pickup is how close to the road the stuff is placed? How come you never hear father-in-law jokes? Gone are the days that girls used to cook like their mothers. Now they drink like their fathers. Dear paranoid people who check behind the shower curtains for murderers, if you find one, what's your plan? Little Johnny sees that his friend at school has a new watch, so he asks him how he got it. I waited until I heard the bed spring squeaking in my folks' bedroom, and then I ran in. My father gave me a watch to get rid of me," replied the little friend. Little Johnny, thinking that was a cool idea, waited that night until he heard the bed spring squeaking rhythmically, and then ran into his folks' bedroom. "What do you want?" asked the father gruffly. "I want a watch," said Johnny. "Well, sit down and shut up." "Is Google a he or a she?" "It's a she, no doubt, because it won't let you finish your sentence without suggesting other ideas." That awkward moment when you have eye contact while eating a banana. Ah, smoothie. The miracle of selling somebody a peach and a banana for $5. Thank you, arms, for always being there right by my side. A naked woman is bouncing on her bed, singing. Her husband walks into the bedroom and sees her. He watches her a while and says, "You look ridiculous." "What on earth do you think you're doing?" She says, "I just got my checkup and my doctor says I have the breasts of an 18-year-old. Starts laughing and she's jumping again. He says, "Yeah, right. And what did he say about your 45-year-old ass?" "Your name never came up," she replied. A man to a psychiatrist. How do you select who should be admitted to your facility? The psychiatrist replies, "Well, we fill a bathtub up with water and we give the person a spoon, a cup, and a bucket. Then we ask that person to empty the bathtub." The man smiles. "Oh, I understand. If you're a sane person, you would just take the bucket." The psychiatrist replies, "No, a sane person pulls the plug. Do you want a room with or without a balcony?" A stutterer walks into a doctor's office and says, the doctor, my stuttering is a real pain in the neck. Please help." The doctor examines him and finally finds the root of the problem. "Well, Mr. Denby, the thing is, your pecker is too big and it takes up too much blood that would normally go into the brain area. We have to operate and take at least a half of it off." A month after the operation, the stutterer comes back for a checkup and sighs. "Doctor, it really helped my stuttering, and that is a big relief for me. But my wife is very unhappy with the situation. Could the amputated bit be sewn back on, please?" "Doctor, sorry, but no." "How come there's so much month left at the end of the money?" 3 nurses all decided to play a joke on the doctor they work for. Later in the day, they all got together on break and discussed what they did. The first nurse said, "I put cotton in his stethoscope so he couldn't hear." Second nurse says, "Well, I did worse than that. I poked holes in all his condoms." The third nurse fainted. A guy and a girl meet at a bar. They get along so well that they decide to head on over to the girl's place. A few drinks later, the guy takes off his shirt and then he washes his hands. Then he takes off his pants and he washes his hands again. The girl's been watching him and says, "You must be a dentist." The guy, surprised, says, "Yeah, I am. How did you figure that out?" "Easy," she replied. "You keep washing your hands." So one thing led to another, and they make love. And after they've done that, the girl says, "You must be a very good dentist." The guy, now with a boosted ego, says, "Sure am." "How did you figure that out?" "Didn't feel a thing." A married couple went to the hospital together to have their baby delivered. Upon their arrival, the doctor said he had invented a new machine that would transfer a portion of the mother's labor pain to the father of the baby. He asked if they were willing to try it out. They were both very much in favor of it. The doctor set the knob to 10% for starters, explaining that 10% was probably more pain than the father had ever experienced before. But as the labor progressed, the husband felt fine, so he asked the doctor to go ahead and bump it up a notch. The doctor then adjusted the machine to 25% transfer. The husband was still feeling fine. The doctor checked the husband's blood pressure and his pulse, and he was amazed at how well he was doing. At this, they decided to try for 50% of pain transfer. The husband continued to feel quite well, and since it was obviously helping out his wife considerably, he encouraged the doctor to transfer all the pain to him. The wife delivered a healthy baby with virtually no pain. She and her husband were ecstatic. When they got home, the mailman was dead on the porch. Some really good questions sometimes I ask myself, like, why do people keep running over a string a dozen times with their vacuum cleaner? Then they reach down, pick it up, examine it, then they put it right back down and give the vacuum one more chance. Why is it that whenever you attempt to catch something that's falling off the table, you always manage to knock something else over? Two neighbors are talking. The first one says, "Joe, you really need to get yourself curtains. I could see everything you were doing with your wife yesterday." The second one replies, "And you really need to get glasses because that was your wife."